Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Sri Caitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila Chapter 3 Text 44 Ajanulambita bhuja kamala lochana tila fula jini nasa sudam shavadana. Ajanulambita bhuja, arms that reach the knees. Kamala lochana, with lotus eyes. Tila fula, the blossom of the sesame plant. Jini, conquering. Nasa, whose nose. Sudha amshuvadana, whose face is like the moon. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His arms are long enough to reach his knees. His eyes are just like lotus flowers. His nose is like a sesame flower, and his face is as beautiful as the moon. Text 35. Shanta Danta Krishna Bhakti Nishtha Parayana Bhakta Vatsala Sushila Sarva Bhute Sama. Translation. He is peaceful, self-controlled, and fully devoted to the transcendental service of Lord Sri Krishna. He is affectionate toward his devotees. He is gentle, and he is equally disposed toward all living beings. Text 46. Chandanira Angada Bala Chandana Bhushana Nritya Kale Parikirena Krishna Sankirtana. Translation. He is decorated with sandalwood bangles and armlets and anointed with the pulp of sandalwood. He especially wears these decorations to dance in Sri Krishna Sankirtana. Text 47. Esava guna lana muni vaisampayana sahasraname kailatandra nama ganana. Translation. Recording all these qualities of Lord Chaitanya, the sage Vaishampayana included his name in the Vishnu Sahasranam. Text 48. Dui Lila Chaitanera Adi Arashesha Dui Lilaya Chari Chari Nama Vishesha. Translation. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya have two divisions, the early pastimes or Adi Lila and the later pastimes or Shesha Lila. He has 4 names in each of these 2 Leelas. Text 49. Suvarna Varno Himango Varangash Chandanangadi Sanyasa Kricha Mahashanto Nishtha Shanti Parayanaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyas order and is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. Purport. This is a verse from the Mahabharata, Dana Dharma Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra. In his commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranam, called the Namarth Shuddha, Srila Baladev Buddhya Bhushana, commenting upon this verse, asserts that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the evidence of the Upanishads. He explains that Suvarna Varanaha means a golden complexion. He also quotes the Vedic injunction, Yada Pashyaha Pashyate Rukma Varnam Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahma Yonim. Munduka Upanishad 3.1.3. Rukma Varanam Kartaram Isham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as having a complexion the color of molten gold. Purusham means the Supreme Lord, and Brahma Yonim indicates that he is also the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having a golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold is attractive. Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushana has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas, leaving aside his householder life to preach his mission. He has equanimity in different senses. First, he describes the confidential truth of the personality of Godhead. And second, he satisfies everyone by knowledge and attachment to Krishna. He is peaceful because he renounces all topics not related to the service of Krishna. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word Nishtha indicates his being rigidly fixed in chanting the holy name of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya subdued all disturbing opponents of devotional service, especially the monists, who are actually averse to the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. Translation once again. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyas order, and is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna to everyone. So, in one of the verses that we read, it talked about Nyagrodha Parimandala. So I was curious to understand what exactly does this mean. So it means the measurement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chest and the measurement of his forearms were the same. This is called Nyagrodha Parimandala. In these few verses that we read this morning, it talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful transcendental form. His arms are long enough to reach the knees. I remember when I heard this first time in Mumbai, during the lecture, the devotees, they stood up to see if their arms reached their knees, and obviously not. So here we see the difference between an ordinary material body and a transcendental body of the Supreme Lord. His arms were long enough to reach the knees. His eyes are described as lotus flowers, nose like sesame flower, and face as beautiful or more beautiful than the moon. So when we hear all this, this knowledge helps us to meditate on the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. And not only that, meditate on his qualities as well. Like one of the verses we read, it said he's peaceful, he's self-controlled, fully devoted to the service to Krishna. He's affectionate towards his devotees, he's gentle, he's equally disposed to all living entities. So you see, these are the qualities that even Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. Why? So that we can try to develop these qualities in ourselves. How can we be peaceful? Krishna gives the peace formula in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarva loka maheshwara. So the peace formula is there. Srila Prabhupada has given us the simple process how we can develop these qualities. How can we become self-controlled? How can we, fully Krishna conscious, fully devoted to serving Lord Krishna? How can we be affectionate towards devotees? First of all, we need to understand that this process that is being given to us by Srila Prabhupada will help us to develop these qualities, will help us to become gentle, will help us to, see everybody with equal vision, right? Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini, the Panditaha, the learned person, he sees everybody equally. So when we start putting Bhagavad Gita into practice, when we start associating with devotees, and we start, following the process sincerely and seriously, then gradually we can develop these qualities. And then one of the verses we read that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body is decorated with sandalwood bangles and armlets. And I started thinking, is it the sandalwood, made with sandalwood, or it looks like the armlets and the bangles are all made with sandalwood. And also he was anointed with sandalwood pulp. Now, if you remember the morning programs in the temples, ISKCON temples, after the Guru Puja, the sandalwood pulp, which is offered to Srila Prabhupada and to the deities, that is, applied on the forehead of the devotees also. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that sandalwood gives a calming, cooling effect. So if our minds are agitated, that sandalwood pulp will probably help. Of course, we would need to work internally a lot, to be calm and peaceful and equipoised. So these are a fraction of the qualities of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. There's a mention of Vaishampayana, and I was listening to one lecture where Prabhu was saying that Vaishampayana is actually a disciple of Vyasadeva, Srila Vyasadeva. And he, the disciple of Vyasadeva, he included Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name in the Vishnu Sahasranam because he was very inspired by these qualities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they have two divisions according to one of the verses we read. The early time, the Adi Lila time, the early Lila has 4 names, and the later Lila called the Shesha Lila has 4 names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As reading, there was a mention of 108 names of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this last verse that we read, number 49, it says that as per the Adi Lila, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in his householder life, Grahastha Ashram. And of course, we have heard that he has a golden complexion, beautiful body, beautiful limbs that was smeared with a sandalwood pulp. And there's a mention that it looked like molten gold. Talking about molten gold, I remember hearing a pastime where Lord Shiva was chanting and Narad Muni was playing his veena and Ganesha was on the mridangam. So when this chanting and this beautiful music, transcendental music was going on, Lord Vishnu, he came there and he was so absorbed in this beautiful chanting and music that Lord Brahma noticed that the Lord's body was melting. It was like molten gold. It was melting. And immediately Lord Brahma, put that molten liquid into his pot, the kamandala that he carries. So that itself shows, this pastime shows that how powerful is the chanting of the holy names. How powerful is this transcendental, ambience, this gathering of these beautiful, pure devotees like Lord Shiva, Narad Muni, in Lord Brahma and Ganesha, and at the same time, Lord Vishnu also appears there. Association is very, very important. Of course, we cannot compare our association with that association in the spiritual world, but at least we get an idea how important it is to chant in association of devotees, to hear Krishna Katha in association of devotees. That will help us to progress spiritually. Now, this chapter is talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Adi Lila time, where he was a Grihastha, but in the Shesha Lila time, in the later Lila, he took sannyas, he was a sannyasi, and in that mood, in that form of sannyas, he was very equipoised, he was peaceful, and it's mentioned that he was on the highest abode of peace and devotion. Now, the Supreme Lord doesn't need this gradation that, okay, he's on the highest level or whatever. He's always on the highest abode. So based on the scriptures, we have heard that Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The scriptures clearly mention that. And we also know that even from today's verses, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has molten gold complexion, that the gold complexion comes from Srimati Radharani. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personality was so fascinating, so attractive, that it is compared to like gold. And he's very, very beautiful. See, so this gives us an idea to what form should we meditate upon. You know, we have even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have description of Lord Krishna's transcendental form, you know, how beautiful bluish form, you know, all the ornaments that he wears, the garments that he wears. So all this knowledge is given to us so that we can meditate upon them. You see, say for instance, if my mother tells me, you know, that I have found a boy for you to get married to, so my first question would be, what does he look like? So if she says, well, he doesn't have a form, I don't know. So then my thought would be, how can I build a relationship with somebody who doesn't have a form? So that is why, you know, Srila Prabhupada stresses on this point that Krishna has a form. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a form. They are not impersonal. They have, but their form is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Their form is transcendental. So that helps us to meditate upon Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now the question arises, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take sannyas? He could have preached, you know, chanting of the holy names, even while in Grihastha ashram. But he had a mission in mind. He came down for a particular purpose. His mission was to spread Krishna consciousness. His mission was to preach about the glories of the holy name to everyone on this earthly planet. And most importantly, to freely distribute love for Krishna. Free. You see, unfortunately, in the material world, anything that we get for free, we don't have that much value. We, you know, feel that, oh, if I've paid for something, then it must be valuable. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give love of Godhead for free. We don't even have to pay anything. All we need to, you know, contribute is our sincerity and seriousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came and he showed by his example, he came as a devotee to show us how to become a devotee, to show us how to get attached to Krishna. See, right now, Most people are attached to Maya in this material world. But to be able to get, to be able to get detached from Maya, the easiest process is to get attached to Krishna. And chanting the holy names of the Lord can help one to get attached to Krishna. Now, one of the unlimited qualities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that he is peaceful. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that he is peaceful because he only talks about Krishna. There is no prajalpa. There is no topic that is not related to Krishna. So this shows us how we should be very rigid in Krishna consciousness. See, we have to be, Prabhupada says, rigidly fixed in Krishna consciousnness. Now, to be rigid in something takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of sincerity and seriousness. Yes, I want to be rigidly fixed in Krishna consciousness, which means we have to, if we have not yet, then we have to learn to chant attentively and with love. If one is firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes a little easy to chant attentively. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave us this Krishna consciousness movement. He gave us the process to become pure devotees of Krishna. And he also showed us how to silence the impersonalists. While I was preparing for this lecture, I was thinking, what actually is the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance? The main purpose is to give us the holy name. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam. Only chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna all the time. That was his purpose. And chanting the holy names is actually like mantra meditation because it's the Maha Mantra. So it's Maha Mantra meditation. And what will be the result of this meditation? The result will be that we'll be able to break the cycle of birth and death. Not only that, we'll become qualified to attain love for Krishna. And not only just attain love, but attain love for Krishna to the highest degree. Shuddha Prema, absolutely pure love for Krishna. See, so this chanting of the holy name, if it is not bringing us to complete absorption in the holy name, then we know that we are not really chanting. Then it is like a mechanical process. Srila Prabhupada says that it is easy to follow the guidance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to follow the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to always chant. Why it is easy? Because chanting is non-different from Krishna. Krishna and his holy name are the same. It is on the spiritual platform. So it is not that difficult. Why? Because chanting helps the devotee to remember Krishna. You see, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So first we are hearing, then we are chanting. That chanting leads to remembrance of Krishna. So there is a possibility that we could evaluate ourselves, when we are chanting. If we are not satisfied, if we are not happy, even after chanting, then it's time to check our chanting. See, to check if we are chanting or not really chanting. You see, whether it's a mechanical process or it is something that we are absorbed in, right? If we are chanting and not really chanting, then that's very unfortunate, which means we are doing it the wrong way. And if we are doing it the wrong way, then definitely we will not get much benefit. We will get some benefit, but not the benefit in full. So it's just like Srila Prabhupada, he has given us the process, and he says that we must chant minimum 16 rounds every day, but we must also chant attentively. He has set a standard. So that certain standard is necessary. If we are not, chanting, at that standard, then we are not really chanting. Yes, we may feel, that yes, I am chanting my 16 rounds every day. Then that's just doing it as a duty that, okay, I've taken a vow, I'm initiated, I've taken a vow, so I am going to chant my 16 rounds and be done with it, take the bead bag and boom, I am done for today. So that kind of mood will not really help us in the long run. Yes, it'll give benefit, but not the full benefit that we are looking at. So say if we can, evaluate and see, is it the wrong way that I'm chanting or is it the right way? Let's take an example. Say if we are learning some art or some music or say some sport. Let's take, cricket. There is a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. You take a cricket bat and you turn it the wrong way and you try to hit the ball. It's not going to give any results, right? Or you also take, for instance, music. In music, there is a certain way to hold the instrument or to use the musical instrument. If we don't do it the right way, then the result is not going to be right. It's definitely going to be the wrong way. So also is for chanting. Chanting is also, you can actually, I take it as a project. Why? Because when we are doing a project, there's a lot of planning needed, right? We need to plan, how am I going to do, what is the right way to do it, and what is the result I'm looking forward to. So there is this planning involved. So similarly, we can take chanting every day as our project and make sure that we get guidance to see how we can do it the right way. And the result will give us an indication whether we are doing it right way or wrong way. As I mentioned, actually, I was listening to this beautiful lecture, and so such nice nectar was there about chanting. The end result will give us an indication whether we chanted the right way or the wrong way, which is, am I satisfied? Am I happy after chanting? If I am, then I'm probably doing it the right way. So what is the right way? That's $1 million question. I also wanted to know. The right way is, first of all, to sit properly when we are chanting. If you all remember hearing Srila Prabhupada chanting japa, in between he says, sit properly. I don't know if you all have heard that. He says that in his japa tape, sit properly, because sitting properly, which means not, and now it of course depends on medical situations. Someone may be, not medically fit, so may not be able to sit properly, but try to sit properly. And also hold the beads properly. I remember one time, my husband and I, we were preaching to this lady in Istanbul. This was, of course, online. And she had a question. She said, I'm left-handed, I do everything with my left hand. Can I hold my beads in my left hand? So this was, I was perplexed to hear this question, because no one had ever said that, hold the beads in my left hand and chant with my left hand. So fortunately, His Holiness, Krishna, I cannot think of the name right now. I'll tell you later on when I give it. Sometimes, there's a block in the mind. So I inquired from this Maharaj who was visiting Atlanta at that time, fortunately. So I said, this is the question, that can someone chant with their left hand, because they are left-handed and it is more easy for them to chant. And the answer was so beautiful. The answer was that we do not do pure things with our left hand and with our left hand, correct? Like when we use the bathroom, we use our left hand, to wash ourselves. And also he said mostly people use their left hand, for cleaning purposes, for hygiene or whatever. So it is better to use the right hand. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has taught us, to use our right hand to hold the beads to chant. So holding the beads properly is also important. Sometimes I see devotees using the beads, but they are not using the bead bag because it's more convenient, but that is not the proper way to hold the beads. The beads should always be in the bead bag so that nothing impure touches the tulasi beads. So if they are in the bead bag, then we are sure that there's going to be no impurity. So now this is the physical part that we have talked about, find a nice spot, you can say your spot, like it's like my spot for chanting in the house. Do it in the Brahma Muhurat, way before sunrise, because the mind is, peaceful. There are not many thoughts, running around in the mind. That happens during the day because we go through different, activities during the day. So the mind gets all confused. But in the morning, in the Brahma Muhurat, is a very peaceful time. Find a space for yourself and sit properly, hold the beads properly. Now, this is a physical aspect, right? But more important is, what about our consciousness and our heart? See, very, very important. So chanting is not just a physical activity. We have to be present, even consciousness wise and heart wise. We have to be present while chanting the holy names. One disciple wrote to Srila Prabhupada that I have so many problems in my life, so many problems, and I don't know what to do, what's happening. So Srila Prabhupada told him that you're probably committing offenses to the holy name. That's why you have so many problems. That's why your mind is not concentrating. That's why, you are not able to hear the holy name. Prabhupada said we need to go deep in Krishna consciousness, which means we need to chant properly. Otherwise, what will happen, the result will be, we'll start feeling weak spiritually. Physically, we may be very healthy, but spiritually, gradually, we'll start becoming weak. So what happens is, when we are not attentive while chanting, Maya knows how to attack us. And when Maya attacks, we start working in different modes of material nature. Sometimes we are in ignorance, passion, or goodness. But we need to come to the mode of pure goodness, as Bhagavad Gita explains in chapter 14. So if we get inoculated with holy name, then we are safe from Maya. You see, to save ourselves from certain diseases, we get inoculated, right? It could be shingles, it could be chicken pox, or whatever it may be, whatever disease it may be. If we get inoculated with holy name, then we become safe from Maya. Now, how do we do that? Very simple. Chant attentively. Another way to figure out if our chanting is good or not is, are we progressing spiritually? If we are not, if we are on a plateau, if we are on the same level for a very long time, then we know that our chanting is weak. You see? So these are some of the points that we can meditate upon and see how, if my chanting is not as it should be, how can I improve my chanting of the holy name? That was the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came down to show us how to develop pure love for Krishna just by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Once a disciple wrote to Srila Prabhupada that I'm not happy. I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but I'm not happy. You know what Srila Prabhupada replied? He said, it's not possible. Anyone who is in Krishna consciousness cannot be unhappy. It has to be happy. Krishna consciousness brings happiness. So, Srila Prabhupada says, look into your japa, look into your chanting. Krishna consciousness equals to happiness. So if you are not happy in Krishna consciousness, that means our chanting is weak. Our japa is weak. In Krishna consciousness, there's always happiness. So Prabhupada said, if we are not happy, that means we are out of Krishna consciousness. How powerful. We are not in Krishna, we are out of Krishna consciousness. So if the question is, I'm out of Krishna consciousness, how do I get back? Simple process, chant properly. Hear Bhagavatam classes, hear Srila Prabhupada's class, associate with devotees, serve in the temple, serve other devotees, preach about Krishna consciousness, you see. So if we are still lacking in chanting, that means we are not really chanting. See, just chanting is not sufficient. It's not that I want to get my rounds done for the day. That is not, no. This is the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. It's powerful, holy name. Very, very powerful, you see. So if we are not chanting properly, we will not be able to get the result that we are looking for. See, just as I was explaining that there's a right way to chant and the wrong way to chant. If supposing, I remember Srila Prabhupada said one time that people, they are working so hard. In fact, I even had a colleague when I was working in an office. The colleague was, I think, 75 years old or something. And he told me one time he's doing 2 jobs, 75-year-old doing 2 jobs. Why? He said, because I have this desire to join a golf club. And after I retire, I'll have enough savings so I can join the golf club and play golf. And what does Srila Prabhupada say about golf? Just spending their life to put a ball in a small hole. That's it. Taking the golf club and putting the ball in a small hole. So if one holds the golf club wrong, is the ball going to go in the hole? No. So we have to be careful that our chanting should be done in the right way, because chanting is more than just hearing. We have heard, right? That when we chant, we should hear the holy name. Yes, sure. But it is more than hearing. Prabhupada said, just chant with your tongue and hear with your ears. That is the process, sure. But there is more to the process. He said that, there is a context to the statement of Srila Prabhupada. He also meant there has to be heart in the chanting. There has to be our consciousness involved. The chanting should be like a meditation, right? So the disciple told Prabhupada that my mind is wandering while I'm chanting. So Prabhupada said, there's no question of mind. Where does the mind come in between? Just chant with your tongue and hear with your ears. Be present in the chanting. Make sure that the heart and the consciousness is also there in the chanting. You see? In the advanced stage of chanting, then devotee can, meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, form of the Lord. This is possible while chanting. But if we are not able to at least chant and hear the holy names, then it's not possible to come to that advanced stage of chanting. So the goal of chanting is so that we can progress spiritually and not be on a plateau. The goal is to come to that stage of chanting where we can think of pastimes of Krishna. It should not be artificial. It should not be forced. It has to come naturally. And this becomes possible when our chanting is good and it is attaching ourselves to Krishna. See? So we, sincerely try to chant and make sure there is no personal motivation to it, right? Desire should be that I want to chant because I want to get Krishna bhakti. It just like Prabhupada says that this chanting is actually a prayer to Shri Radha and Krishna that please engage me in your service. So that prayer should be for getting pure devotional service. In fact, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that the holy name descends when the mood of service is there, right? When that mood changes from I have to finish my rounds to desiring to get pure devotional service of Krishna, then that chanting is not mechanical. See, chanting, hearing, sincerity, praying, how to do all this at the same time, right? That's a lot to do. But if the mood is there, proper mood is there for chanting, then Krishna is going to help us to get absorbed in the holy name, right? We've heard in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam buddhi. He will give us the intelligence. He will help us to develop that mood which will help us to absorb in him. So when the chanting is sincere and we are hearing also and the mood is a prayerful, then we can progress spiritually. In fact, Jiva Goswami, he says, any mantra that is chanted, one should always think of the meaning of that mantra while chanting. Think of the meaning. You see, I remember I even hearing that say, even when we are doing our Mangalarti, we need to think about the meaning of what we are saying. Samsara Davanana. See, I have to think of each and every verse. What does it mean? Then we will be able to develop that prayerful mood that we are praying to our spiritual master to please help us, give shelter to us at his lotus feet. You see? So otherwise, when we are chanting and there is no, that mood is not there, then it is mechanical. The chanting is actually my time with Krishna. We are calling out his name. So when we are calling out to him, he is ready to come and be present on our tongues. So it's important that we are conscious of the fact that Krishna is present in his holy name. It is my time with Krishna. So we should take this opportunity, give full attention and make this our priority. If it is not our priority, then it'll be difficult for us to get the full benefit. You see, perfection should be the mood, the absorption. It's not just a perfection of mechanics, sitting properly or Brahma. These are mechanicals, that we definitely need them, the mechanics, but then more important is the mood and the absorption. So, just chanting is not sufficient. Let's take an example, a parrot. We can teach a parrot to chant Hare Krishna and the parrot will chant. But when the parrot is chased, is the parrot going to chant Hare Krishna? No, it's just going to make odd noises and try to save himself, right? So we don't want that parrot chanting where the absorption is not there. You see, as far as the parrot is concerned, parrot is chanting mechanically. So when needed, that Maha Mantra doesn't come on his lips. But for us, if we do the chanting properly, then gradually the mind will get absorbed And then at the time of death, it'll be natural for us to remember Krishna, chant his holy names. So I'm going to end. Sorry, it was a very long lecture. I'm going to end with today's last verse again. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful, and his body, smeared with the pulp of sandalwood, seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyas order and is equipoised and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mother Gita, for such a wonderful class. And actually, couple of points that you mentioned, I really liked. What there was a very nice connection and reminder. One was how you actually tied these verses describing the Lord's external appearances to the holy name. I really, really like that because for me, at least, what I gathered was, Lord Chaitanya is the one, as the personality that brought the holy name, and to tie everything of his external appearances to the holy name was really powerful. That was one thing that I really liked. And in fact, I was just thinking that, whenever we think or hear or see Lord Chaitanya, or even see him in a deity form, we should be reminded of the holy name, because he was the one that brought it down to the streets of Navadvip. And so I was just thinking, wow, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. That was his mission, to give us the holy name.
Yeah, that was really, really powerful, Mother. Thank you so much for bringing that. And also definitely sharing the pastimes of the importance of chanting was really, really powerful. And also, Mother, I really liked how you said,